ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here we find further important instructions by Lord Kapila about a practitioner of spiritual life. In the end of this purport, Prabhupada is explaining, anyone who wants to remain in this material world, he can keep on doing whatever he wants, unrestricted association with women. But if one is aspiring to reach the culmination of spiritual life, then he must follow certain very important guidelines as it is given here by Lord Kapila. So here it is said, संगम न कुर्यात प्रमदासु जातु योगस्य पारम परम अरुरुक्षुः. Anyone who wants to reach the culmination, param param, the final goal of spiritual life, the topmost ladder, the topmost pinnacle of spiritual life, then he should not unrestrictedly associate with young women. So Prabhupada is translating, one who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and how does one come to the platform of culmination of this yoga? Mat sevaya pratilabdha atmano. He does that by rendering devotional service unto me. So there are many steps, but the culmination is reached by mat sevaya pratilabdha atma labho. Only when one is very intimately connected with the Supreme Lord by rendering devotional service unto Him. So that's why Prabhupada in the purport is explaining what is the meaning of culmination of yoga. It is full Krishna consciousness. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, Tasmat yogi bhava Arjuna. Because yogi is greater than the ascetic, yogi is greater than the jnani, yogi is greater than a karmi. Above all of them is the yogi. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, that is why Arjuna always be a yogi, because he is greater than even the tapasvi, is greater than. But then there are varieties of yogis. There is karma yogi, there is dhyana yogi, there is jnana yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham among all the yogis, Sarvesham, Madgatah Antaratmana, Shraddhavan Bhajate Yomam. One who is very intimately connected with me, Antaratmana. How is he connected? Shraddhavan Bhajate Yomam, who is rendering loving devotional service unto me. He is considered to be the most intimately connected with me. Same yukta tamamataha. So, that position can be reached only by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Prabhupada is also quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam that Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana, if one wants to understand Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana, Mukta Sanghasya Jayate. Once anyone comes to the point of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, he becomes completely liberated from three modes of material nature. And how does it begin? So, Shranvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, it begins with that. Hearing about Krishna. So, in that, Krishna explains this point also. That when one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, then he becomes completely free from all kinds of material association. So there also, Prabhupada is saying here, in second chapter of the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated when one becomes freed from material contamination by rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he can at that time understand the signs of God. So, another very interesting expression which Prabhupada is using in this purport is that Pratilabdha Atma Labhaha. Self-realization, when one becomes self-realized, it is considered to be a gain. All other, whatever different material endeavors we do and whatever we may obtain, it is still considered to be a loss. Because factually, we lose the opportunity to become self-realized, which is the actual gain. So, this is another very important thing which Prabhupada is explaining here. Next, Prabhupada is explaining that this self-realization, this gain is possible by following certain regulative principles. There are some so-called yogis who advertise that there is no requirement. One can have unrestricted association with women. One can gratify his lusty desire, his senses, and still he can become a yogi. But that we don't find either in Bhagavad Gita also. We don't find that in Bhagavatam. Lord Kapila is telling completely different. He's saying if one wants to reach the culmination of yoga, then association with women is considered to be a gateway to hell. He will never be able to reach the culmination of yoga. So this is a very important instruction for anyone, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, Brahmachari. If we are aspiring to advance in devotional service and reach the culmination of yoga, loving devotional service to the Lord. These are very important instructions. I will read from one very interesting, in the second chapter itself, Arjuna is asking about the symptom of a self-realized soul. What are the symptoms? Someone who has realized the self, someone who is situated at the culmination of yoga. How do we understand that somebody has reached the culmination of yoga? So Arjuna asked these questions. Sthita pragnasya ka bhasha. How does he speak? Samadhistasya keshava. How is he situated? What are the symptoms? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? So these are the different questions. And in answer to that, the very first thing Krishna says is Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmani Evatmana Tushtaha Sthita Pragnas Tada Uchyate. O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So this is a very important symptom of a self-realized person. He is not aspiring to fulfill his material desires. He is completely given up all different kinds of Sarvan Partha Manogatan. All his different material desires he has given up. And he is finding only satisfaction in self alone. Such a person is considered to be self-realized. Then next Krishna says, then what happens in the material world? So many things, so many changes happens. It is a world of duality. This is about his consciousness. This is about how he behaves in this material world. Now, how does he react to the different stimulus in this material world, ups and downs, the world of duality? How does he react to all of them? One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, dukkheshu anudvigna manaha, sukkheshu vigata spruhaha, vita raga bhaya krodha, sthita dhir muniruchyate. So he is not disturbed by threefold miseries, and he is not elated by material happiness. He is free from raga, that means attachment, bhaya, fear, and krodha. Then it is understood he is a sage of steady mind. Then, in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, because this is not in our hand. Sometimes we may land up in a situation which may be very pleasing to our mind. Sometimes we land up in a situation which may not be very pleasing, which may be very disturbing. So, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it, praising means when he is getting something good, praising that circumstances, nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Tasya pragna pratishtitaha. And then this is also very important. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So this is another very important thing we have to learn. Prabhupada says that one should be able to withdraw his senses. The senses, not that because the senses are given, eyes are there, so I must utilize the eyes unrestrictedly. And we are thinking nothing is going to happen. No. All these senses, Jnanendriya, they are taking so many inputs. And all these inputs will get stored in your subconscious mind. And at different circumstances, all these different inputs which you have taken, they all come out and will disturb you. So Krishna consciousness is a purifying process, but then you have to stop taking inputs. Isn't it? It is just like otherwise you are trying to kindle a fire and at the same time you keep pouring water on it. It will not work. So Krishna consciousness is a purifying process, but at the same time we have to learn restricting the senses. These two things are very important. That's why Prabhupada says there are certain do's, there are certain don'ts. If you want to come out of your diseased condition, you have to follow certain do and certain don'ts. So Prabhupada is saying here in the purport, test of a yogi, devotee or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servant of the senses and are directed by the dictation of senses. See? So these senses are compared to venomous serpent. If they bite, there is nothing less than death. So, Krishna consciousness process of this restriction and positive engagement is to take out the poisonous fangs. Is to take out the poisonous fangs of this poisonous snake. Then it is no more fearful. Till it is poisonous, it is very fearful. So, this process of 4 regulative principles and chanting our 16 rounds and following the sadhana given by Srila Prabhupada, without a doubt, will take out these poisonous fangs. So this is a part of the process. We have to restrict our senses. Next, Krishna explains that how one may artificially try to restrict his senses, but if he does not engage his senses in Krishna consciousness, then it will not last for very long. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. So our process is not just restricting. That we find. Even greatest of the yogis have fallen down, even after trying to restrain their senses. So that is not the process. Process is to engage the senses in Krishna's service. When the eyes will start appreciating the beauty of Krishna, the eyes will forget the material beauty of this world. When the tongue will start tasting Krishna Prasadam and the holy name of the Lord, the tongue will not be attracted to material subject matter. When through the ears we drink the nectar of Krishna Katha and the holy name, the ears will not be attracted to material subject matter which are compared to garbage. That subject matter is considered to be the subject matter like those of mentality of crow. Hamsas are not inclined to the garbage. Automatically you will find. Hamsas, they are not interested, you will not find them. Some dead bodies lying, it is not that Hamsas will come and stand there and eat that. But anytime you will find, you can see on the road, some accident happens, some animal dies, immediately there will be crows there. Isn't it? So it is a question of developing higher taste. And this is a very important warning Krishna is giving. Similar to what is given in Bhagavatam, that one should not sit alone with his own mother, with his own sister, or with his own daughter, even if you are very learned, because senses are very strong. So Krishna says that yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. Vipaschita means full of discrimination. Somebody who has acquired discrimination. This should be done, this should not be done. Learned man, even such a learned man. Indriyani pramatini haranti prasabham manaha. The senses are so strong and impetuous. That means through some impetus, just little impetus is required, that's all. They can be pulled. Senses can be immediately pulled. Senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. Somebody who has acquired discrimination, even his mind can be carried away by the senses. So important, actually, you can see where the lust begins with. Next, Krishna explains that also. Where the lust begins with contemplation. It begins with dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. So very important. And then in the next verse, Krishna is explaining how one should control his senses. Therefore, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasya indriyani tasya pragna pratishtita. There is no other way. Only in relation with Krishna, senses can be controlled. There is no other way. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as the man of steady intelligence. And next, Krishna explains that process of how a person falls victim and falls down in this material pool. Beginning with Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate. Beginning with contemplation of the senses. So, in this regard, we can find that there are many important instructions which are given by great acharyas. How one has to practice Krishna consciousness with lot of determination, and even if sometimes there is fall down, the devotee is repentant. He is not utilizing devotional service as a process that does not matter. I will keep committing sinful activities, and at the same time I will chant the holy name, I will perform devotional service. That is considered to be the greatest offense. If someone is thinking, by chance, by some kind of, accidental, Prabhupada calls it, accidental fall down, Krishna will excuse us. But if we try to make it a habit that I will chant the holy name and I will keep doing this nonsense, then actually that is an offense. And once we are committing offense, there is no question of advancement. So that has to be understood very clearly. So there are some very important instructions through some beautiful incidents which have happened in the past. Prabhupada explains some very important things. One example Prabhupada gives is about there was a man who was paralyzed, and practically his body was not in a working condition, and he was a householder, married man. He had a nice beautiful wife, everything was there, but somehow his mind had become attracted to the prostitute who was living very close to their house. And he would see that there are many people walking to the house of that prostitute. And he also developed a desire that I also want association of that woman. But they were not very rich. He did not have that money. So he was in a very disturbed condition of mind. And then the wife asked him, what is happening that I am seeing? You are a little disturbed from many days. So finally he revealed to his wife that I have become attached to that woman, and I have been thinking how to, if I can associate, if I can have union with that prostitute. So the wife then went to that prostitute and she started doing some menial service in the house of that Vaishya. So every day she would do some or other household work for that in order to please that woman. So then she asked that, why are you doing all these things? What do you want? So then she expressed that actually we are very poor, but somehow my husband, who is in a little diseased condition of life also, he has developed a desire to have union with you. So, whatever money I can earn by doing your service, I would like you to in turn, satisfy my husband for that. So the prostitute was able to understand the circumstances of this poor wife. And she said, you do not worry. After this many days, you send your husband and I will satisfy his desire. So then, after a few days, as per the arrangement done by the wife, the husband went to the house of that prostitute. There, she welcomed him with lot of hospitality. And she had made some very nice dishes. So she went and first presented them in silver bowls. So he ate to his satisfaction. Then later on, she changed the bowls and she presented the same items in mud pots, then in banana leaves. So the husband was surprised. He said, what are you doing? The same items you served in banana leaf, you served in silver pot, you served in mud pot. What difference does it make? The item is the same. What difference does it make? So then that woman spoke. She said, yes, it doesn't make any difference. So she said, similarly, it may be the body of your wife or it may be my body. The lust is the same. The taste you are going to derive is the same. It's only the change of vessels. So then that person came to his senses. He immediately left that place. So this Prabhupada explains about this, that how actually we get so much carried away by these kinds of desire. We don't understand that actually whether it is in animal life, whether it is in human life, or whether it is this woman or that woman, it is the same. And that's why the Vedic literature calls it as punaha punaha charvita charvanana. It is just chewing the same old subject matter, which has been chewed over and over and over. And we are thinking we are going to derive some new taste out of it. See? Prabhupada also explains about the incident of Bilvamangala Thakur, who was actually an advanced devotee on the level of bhava. Prabhupada says that he was on the level of bhava, but somehow or other he fell down. And in the next life, as Krishna assures, one can get birth in very rich and aristocratic family. But sometimes we also know when one is born in very rich and aristocratic family, they misutilize that opportunity and they go more towards hellish life. So similar thing happened with Bilvamangala. He was a grahastha and he was also very attached to one prostitute by name Chintamani. One day, Prabhupada explains, his father's Shraddha ceremony was going on. He just somehow or other finished that Shraddha ceremony and it was heavy torrents of rain. It was flooding everywhere. So Chintamani was thinking that today at least Bilva Mangala would not come. But you can imagine what kind of attraction he had in his heart for this prostitute, that in such heavy rain he still reached the house of Chintamani. He jumped the wall, the gate, and later on she was shocked to see him at the door. And she asked him, Bilva Mangala, how did you come? In such a heavy rain, I never thought that you will be able to come. So then he explained. He said, there was no boat available. There were dead bodies floating. I took hold of one of the dead body, climbed over it, used it as a boat, and came here. And then I saw that your, house was also filled with water. And then using a snake, I climbed that wall, I jumped over the wall, and then I have come to your house. So she was completely astonished. She said, Bilva, you have so much attraction for this skin. You have so much attraction for this skin. Even if you had little attraction for Krishna, your life would have been saved. So with these just few words of Chintamani, immediately he made up his mind and he left that place, never to come back again. So he went towards Vrindavan, but on the way there was another test. He was feeling very thirsty, very hungry, and he went to one of the houses. So this is on the way to Vrindavan. And there, the wife of Brahmana came, who was very beautiful. So again his mind was distracted. And then he said to that wife of Brahmana, he said, my dear mother, can you please give me the hairpins you have? So she could not understand what does he want to do. So she gave her hairpins, which she was putting in the hairs. So he took that hairpin and plucked out his eyes. He thought that these eyes are my eternal enemy. So later on, he went on to become one of the greatest devotees of the Lord. So much so that the Lord would personally come and give him milk, even though he was blind. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would relish the different books and poetries written by Bilva Mangala Thakur about Krishna. So we can see from the life of these great personalities also that actually there is nothing in this material attraction. Nothing in this. They've all given up. All these great personalities, being attracted to the Supreme Lord, they just gave up their life, tuchha. Just like we find about the 6 Goswamis. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tuchhavat. They gave up all these things. And in Vrindavan, they were practicing devotional service, in ecstatic devotional service, searching out Krishna and Radha. So, these are very important instructions which Lord Kapila is giving us here, that how one has to abstain from, getting unrestricted his sense enjoyment, he should restrict himself, and at the same time engaging oneself fully in Krishna consciousness. Then it is possible that definitely with the mercy of the Lord, our senses will come under control. So we'll stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.